All right, welcome everybody to another Wednesday, and we're flying solo. It's just me and
Flying
Mary Beth
solo.
tonight. So
We had a guest co-host, but it's murder mystery. So
they
we had
murdered him.
we had to leave some
He
either
died.
murder
We
or
don't know.
mystery.
You have to figure out who it was and what how he died
And how
or
he
she
died.
died.
Were you
So
gonna run the trailer?
yeah, but I was gonna do the drink first.
Do the drink first.
We're
Okay.
gonna do a drink, and let me get my share screen up, because we always forget. So I like to get this out of the way. So there's our drink. It is the classic old fashioned. This is actually one of my favorite drinks. It's just basically bourbon with simple syrup, which is just basically sugar water, bitters, a little bit of soda sometimes. It depends. There's different versions of it. Orange slice and cherry muddled together. And you kind of mix all that up, and it's actually pretty good if you like bourbon or whiskey. If you don't, well,
You
then
like
you probably
sweet,
yeah, it
sweet
does give it a
bourbon.
nice sweetness. I like to use bourbon over whiskey, which is kind of I believe the more traditional. And of course, that's Don Draper having because that was his favorite drink. So even though it has nothing to do with the movie, I thought Mad Men was a
That
great show.
explains some people's confusion. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's what he always drank an old fashioned. So
If you want to be true to
that's
the
why
movie,
it's Don
maybe
Draper on
get
there.
cognac. Although a number of drinks, champagne and cognac, and some other drinks are mentioned in this movie. So
Yeah, there's a lot of different versions of the old fashioned. So you can
I'm
look up. There's a whole
going.
history of why it's called the old fashioned and stuff like that.
Oh, really cool.
So
All right,
yeah, we
I'm
won't go
going
into it.
to turn our comments on so I can see them. You may hear the talking in the background for a
Yeah, I
second.
should do that too, because I want to see who's with us.
I see Roy and I see Martin. Hi, guys.
Yeah, I gotta make
I
this
said right before we
bigger.
started, I said Roy and Martin will be there.
So, 1985, Clue, based on the Parker Brothers board game of the same name. I will say that I think I told you pre game, so to speak. This was one of my favorite board games as a kid growing up. I still have somewhere the original version with the wooden pieces
Yeah.
that came with. Now, if you buy it, it's plastic. And of course, there's a lot of different versions of it and stuff like that. They have now different, but the original Clue game with the, and I don't know, I was good at it, so I liked it. So in 1985, when the movie was released, I went to go see it. So I did see this in the theater, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. Although financially, I believe the movie did not do as well in the theaters as the
Yes. It
studio had hoped,
was considered a bomb at the
but
time.
picked up quite a bit in home video,
Yes.
and
Yes.
now has a
So
bit of a is a cult classic, I
is a
believe.
absolute cult classic. So I'm same thing in our house. We played this game. This and Risk was like we were always playing this.
Risk took
Um,
too long.
Risk, yeah, Risk was in for a long night. If you're gonna Risk,
Yeah.
this for a while we played Magic the Gathering when we got a little older. But anyway, yeah, Clue.
I
Clue was
was
one of our
after my time.
first, and Monopoly and Clue. Those were the games we played.
Monopoly, yeah, I mean Monopoly, but yeah, the Parker Brothers board game. This was probably the one that got played the
I
most.
looked for the Clue. I looked for the game. I went to my mother's house this weekend and I looked for the game. I couldn't find it,
I'm
but we had
fairly
that
certain I have.
original.
Yeah, I have it down in the basement.
Yeah.
I do have. I also had. They had come out with later in the late '80s or some mid '80s maybe. They had a VHS version. Remember there was kind of a
Yes.
short popularity with VHS games where
Game.
you'd
Yes.
watch the scene and there would be clues in the scene you had to see. I don't remember exactly how to play it. I do have that downstairs. I'm sure the tapes are shot, so they're not. It's no good, but
You'll have to
I do
get them
have it.
digital.
Yeah. I
Get
don't
them
know if I
digital.
could try. I don't think the tape, like I said, is of any could is playable. It's probably very old.
So yeah, so getting this thing to the screen, this was actually you could almost nod to Star Wars here because in '77 George Lucas showed the world how to merchandise, right? So
Merchandise.
merchandising, so
Spaceballs
toys,
the flamethrower.
things, stuff. So you can just see the little wheels turning in the suits' heads. They were like, we make games and toys out of our movies. Why don't we make a movie out of our games and toys? And poof, Clue
Yeah.
was born. Because Clue
And
had been around.
it's probably one of the few games, it's hard. How do you make, well, they'll write a script for anything, but I mean, this at least lends itself,
It
murder
kind of does.
mystery is a
I can
thing.
tell you how Jonathan Lynn tackled it. It and Martin is mentioning, but yes, it in the entire rest of the planet, this thing is called Pluto. Only in Estados Unidos is it called Clue. Maybe in Canada, it might be Clue in Canada. Because Cluedo, because Ludo is I play in Latin. and Clue and Ludo, Cluedo. But that, I mean, yeah, it's right that they changed it. Americans would never like what
Okay.
Americans know Latin. They
Yeah,
just
well, I don't know. We're uneducated, I guess. I don't know.
not very well educated over here. So
Hey,
yeah, they changed
before
it to
we
Clue.
before we go, I wanted to run the original
Yeah, run
trailer.
the
So people
trailer
that
so we
are
can all
not familiar,
remember.
you can get it because the trailer's actually pretty good.
Yeah,
So let
run the
me get
trailer, and then
that
I'll
up.
tell you how Jonathan Lynn tackled this thing.
Every person in this room has the perfect motive.
Stand back!
For murder.
What do you mean? Murder.
But only one of these suspects is the murderer. Is it the timid Mr. Green?
Why are you screaming? Because I'm frightened of what? Screaming!
Or the militant Colonel Mustard?
If I was the killer, I would kill you next.
Huh?
Said if. If.
Mrs. White, who helped her husband on his way?
Well, it's a matter of life after death. Now that he's dead, I have a life.
Miss Scarlet, who's helped many men along the way?
Practice makes perfect.
Professor Plum, who's looking for a way?
I'm looking.
Mrs. Peacock?
I have absolutely no idea what we're doing here, but I am determined to enjoy myself.
Or did the butler do it?
No.
Paramount Pictures invites you to an evening of mystery,
Let us in! Let us in! Let us out! Let us out!
murder,
This is getting quite serious.
and madness. In the movie that makes a scene of the crime, Clue. It's not just a game anymore.
Okay, so
let us in.
so yeah, I mean, so those of you guys who have have never seen it, you can now see that that the cast was
Yes, was
just
brilliant.
amazing,
It was brilliant.
amazing casting on this. Everybody in there was known. Yeah, all the main characters, or main players were certainly known quantities. So, of course, the Star Trek connection, as we know.
Yeah, we can do all roads. There's two big roads, huge roads, really. The biggest road is Christopher Lloyd, because he played
Right.
what's his bucket in the movie there.
Yeah.
And
What's
then
his the Klingon that killed
I
Kirk.
can never remember the Klingon's name.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. I don't know.
But I remember Christopher Lloyd because
Yeah.
he's manic. Like the man
It's
is
me,
manic.
Genesis!
Yeah, and he's
Good.
always high
Sorry,
energy.
that was
Like
my
if,
really
if
bad
you're
stuff.
thinking of 1.21 gigawatts, that's
Yeah.
Christopher Lloyd. In this
Yeah.
movie, he's actually oddly sedate. So,
Yeah.
but the
Well,
other road,
his shows you his range as an actor.
His range as an actor,
His
yeah.
first, you got to remember when his first really claim to fame was on Taxi.
yeah.
Jim Ignatowski is the drunk out.
Ignatowski, yeah.
One
The
of the
other
funniest.
little road was Michael McKean, and it's funny because I'd been looking up scary Star Trek episodes, and the one he was in is always ranked like in the top 5. The episode is called Thaw. It was a Voyager episode, and it was the one with all the creepy clowns, and he played this creepy clown, and it was like this weird trip through like someone's subconscious or something. I don't remember. But yeah, and he was like the lead clown in the episode Thaw. And it was
Did not know that.
weird and creepy. It really was, yeah. So there's our two big, and then there are
Right.
tons of other little
Right, and then there's
all kinds of
the
people.
Buckaroo Banzai, of course, connection again with Christopher Lloyd,
Buckaroo
and
Banzai, Christopher Lloyd, and
the police officer that is murdered was one of the Blue Blazer regulars. He was the dad for the kid that.
so we will go through the whole cast. Let's kind of I'll walk
Yeah.
you through how this thing came to life, and then we can, because then that'll lead to how Jonathan Lynn cast the thing. But so like I said, the suits were like, oh, we can maybe make money off of games. Let's try. Why not? And so John Landis, American Werewolf in London Landis, he took a stab at it. He's the one who came up with this. It was his baby. He was going to run with it. And he had the idea. He had the idea they'd be blackmailed. He had the general, but that's all he really had. And so he didn't know where to go with it. And he was shopping it around. And he tried Tom Stoppard, who'd written a bunch of stuff. He tried Stephen Sondheim as a writer, because he's usually the musical theater guy.
Right,
But he
yeah, I
wrote
was
Gypsy,
saying-
and he won awards for Gypsy. So, he tried, of all people, Anthony Perkins. Yes, Norman Bates' Psycho.
I could see that. I could
I
see
didn't
that.
know he wrote. Maybe he did write, yeah.
I could see him acting in this. I could see him.
I
as the
can see
butler.
him acting in it too.
I could see him
yeah.
as the butler, although Tim Curry was phenomenal.
Yeah. And so finally, he pitched it. I don't know how it came to be, but they all passed on it. And finally, he pitched it to Jonathan Lynn. Now, Jonathan Lynn at the time is a relatively unknown guy in Britain. He'd done a ton of theater, and he'd done a British TV show called Yes Minister. And that's it. Like, that's all he'd done. So he's kind of novice. So John Landis says, I'll fly you to Los Angeles. And Jonathan Lynn literally thought, this is my only chance to ever see Los Angeles, and they're paying for my flight. That was literally his only thought. So off he goes, and they pitch it to him, and he's like, I don't know what to do with this. But he did a couple super clever things. One, he set it in the McCarthy era, 1954, because what that does is it gave it political intrigue, which gave it a plot, which gave it reason and motive,
Right.
and reason why they try to kill each other. And during the McCarthy era, people were already, like, there was tension and paranoia, and nobody trusted anybody anyway. Like, people were like, oh my God, my neighbor's
Everybody was a communist.
Yeah. So
Just a red herring.
It was, yeah, communism was the red herring. And then he also did some of the casting. But once he got, and I'll talk about the cast, but once he got the cast together, he did another really, really smart thing, is he made it a farce. It's kind of like a farce or a parody of other murder mysteries, such as...
Yeah, no, it's considered a parody of
Yeah.
murder, like Agatha Christie
like
type.
Agatha Christie or Hercule Poirot or
Right.
any of those, including another parody called Murder by Death, which had
Right.
Eileen Brennan in it. So yeah, it was absolutely, he made it a farce, and he made the cast watch this movie from 1940 called His Girl Friday, where the cast spoke to the ear. It's very quickly, but it's also very natural. Like, they were talking over each other the way people do.
Right.
In real life. And he said, this is how I want the delivery. And the whole cast said, yes, we're in. Now, we were talking before how the studio did kind of foist a couple people on him, but they were looking at a guy named Leonard Rossiter, who was a British actor who would have probably been brilliant as Wadsworth, but unfortunately the poor man died. So he was out. They looked at Rowan Atkinson, who we adore now, but no one knew who he was then.
Yeah, he was unknown then, right?
He
At
was
least
unknown.
now he might have been known in Britain, because he was,
Yes, he would have absolutely been known in Britain. Yeah, he'd already done Mr. Bean by then, but I don't think anyone in the States knew him yet.
No.
And then they kind of looked at John Cleese, and I don't know what happened there, but Jonathan Lynn had actually gone to high school with Tim Curry. So he knew who Tim Curry was, and he said, yeah, you know what, let's go. So he picked Tim Curry, which was genius. The rest of the cast kind of fell into place through casting, and they are all known quantities, amazing performers, and we can go through them one by one. And then finally, it was the studio who said, okay, you're going to use Lee Ving as Mr. Body. And Jonathan Lynn actually had said, I'd said no to some other things. So I figured I better just say yes to this one. So he's like, okay, we'll roll with leaving. And I don't know who cast Bill Henderson, who was the Buckaroo Banzai, the jazz singer. He was the other singer cast. And then I don't know, I think the studio cast Jane Weedland from the Go-Go's as our singing telegram. So it was, kind of a mishmash cast, but man, it was a magical.
Yeah, it worked out. I mean, we could start with Tim Curry, because he's obviously the main character. We all know Tim from Rocky Horror Picture Show is probably his most other famous. Transvestite from Transylvania.
Yes, theatrically he was a known quantity. He'd won awards for Rocky Horror, and then he immediately went on to Amadeus and won awards for Amadeus. So he was kind of a theatrical known quantity. But maybe not so much on TV.
But he was also, he was in Legend, if you've seen that with Tom Cruise.
Yes, Legend comes next.
And they came out the same year. I'm not sure what the production was. They both came out in 1985.
I think Legend was second.
Legend, well, yeah, it depends on the order. If you look on IMDb, it shows it first before, but they came out at the same time.
Yeah.
But you really almost didn't know who he was because of the amount of makeup that was on that character in Legend. It was phenomenal makeup.
And you know what? The other one he did he did Stephen King's It somewhere around there, and that was another one where he was completely.
No, he's really a great actor. Of course, a lot of people know him as the Doctor from Hunt for Red October. He's kind of the doofus doctor that just kind of doesn't really know what the hell's going on around him in that whole thing.
But from there, his career just kind of took off, and he's mad prolific. Even now, he had a stroke in 2013 and has been in a wheelchair since. He still does voice work.
Yeah.
So he's just incredible. But I saw an interview with him, and he said, they said, what were your 2 favorite movies? And he said, of my own. And they said, yeah. And he said, Clue and Muppet Treasure Island. Of all
That's
movies.
right. He played like Captain Hook or something in that.
Yeah,
right?
he played Captain. What's his name?
Yeah.
So of all, he's like, yeah, I really enjoyed Muppet Treasure Island. But Michael McKean said a really nice thing. He said, we would all wander off because the set was like they built the whole dang house, right?
Yeah.
So he said, we'd all wander off to the billiard room because there was a working pool table. We'd all be playing pool and goofing off and screwing around. And Tim Curry would fix us with this look because Tim had to carry that movie. And he said he was memorizing like pages and pages and pages of dialogue that he had to like keep straight in his head, plus all the running around, like especially in the third act toward the end, running constantly. He carried that movie, and so for someone who was kind of an unknown at that time, it's perfect.
Yeah, I wouldn't call him unknown, but he wasn't, mainstream. Let's put it that way.
He wasn't mainstream, but Jonathan Lynn obviously knew who he was, and he was excited to work with Jonathan Lynn. So he's like, oh, it was my friend's first Hollywood movie, and I was really happy for him, and I wanted to support him. And
now, we will say that Wadsworth, of course, is not in the game. There are several characters that are not in the game.
Yeah, true.
They've added some characters, so he's one of them. And of course, so moving kind of around the list would be Eileen Brennan. Who is a very known quantity, of course, even at that time.
Eileen
had done a ton of stuff.
Coming off of Private Benjamin.
Yeah. Her list. She's again one of those actresses, I should say, that you see and immediately you recognize her.
Oh yeah.
You might not remember the name or what was she's in, but she's kind of one of those.
Watching her, and I thought, if we ever did this, and there is talk, we'll go at the end of the show. We'll talk. There is talk about redoing it. If we ever did this again, I was thinking, maybe Kate Mulgrew might kind of capture that. Maybe she wouldn't. I don't know. She's more. Kate's more has.
She does look a little bit. Yeah, there's a little bit similarities.
They have the gravelly voice, and they look.
I don't see Kate being as funny though.
As funny, yeah.
She's always.
Backstory for this particular project was that the poor thing had been in a really bad car crash, like smashed both legs, broken jaw, broken nose, I think broken orbital bone around your eye, whatever, like bad. And she had gotten addicted to the painkillers they gave her. And so she'd been in rehab, and this was her first project out of rehab, and she was so determined. Like everyone said, Eileen she had to work so hard. It was an effort for her. And if you really look and watch in some of the scenes where they're running, she is not limping, but kind of hobbling a little bit. She's not running with a steady gait. She's kind of doing one of those because it's literally painful for her. So yeah, mad props to Eileen for coming back to do this and being as funny as she was.
Yeah. So, given kind of course, then we have, of course, she was Mrs. Peacock, which was one of the characters in the game, and then we have one of my favorite actresses of all time, and is such a shame that she died so young, is Madeline Kahn.
As
Mrs. White.
Blazing Saddles.
Mrs. White, mind you, she was completely dressed in black, like she had just come from a funeral.
Yes, she was, but she opens her cloak and it's all white on the inside.
They portray her as kind of a Black Widow type because she's basically had like 5 husbands and they've all died. It's like husband. What does she say? Husbands are like. What does she say? Husbands are like.
Like Kleenex, soft,
Kleenex,
strong, disposable.
Yeah. She has some of the best lines actually in the film.
She was underwritten, and they'd seen her in
she had already done like all the Mel Brooks films by this point.
And they saw her in something. They're like, no, write her a little bit more, and they did.
Yeah,
and, you know what? The other thing
phenomenal
about Madeline is she's the only one. Everyone thinks there's improv in this movie, and there's only one moment because Jonathan Lynn kept them pretty tight to the script. He had to so that things would make sense. You
couldn't go off the rails too much.
You could screw it all up.
Because
But the one improv that she did and they kept was flames on the side of my face,
which was in the third act, so by then it didn't really matter.
Yes. And it was like ending B or something, or ending C. So if you saw it first run and you didn't see ending C,
see that. That was one of the best ones. The flames, flames,
flames, the side of my face.
It's like it's a matter of life after death.
Pete.
Now that he's dead, I have a
I have a
life.
life. Yeah. She did. She had some of the best.
Yeah,
lines.
she had some of the best lines, and
Flies who are men are the most vulnerable.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So
She just
yeah,
delivers it,
so it's such a shame she died in 1999 at the age of 57. So that was tragic to the comedy, and it was just was a sad day for me because she is one of my favorite actors.
She
Of course,
is a loss.
because Young Frankenstein is one of my. As we're doing, we'll pitch it
We'll
later. We're doing that with Roy later in the
be
week.
doing
or
that with Roy next week.
next day. And she was just so great in that film, and in Blazing Saddles, and which I believe she got nominated for an Academy Award for Blazing Saddles. So yeah,
yes, she
just
did.
great. Just goes to show you the amount of great actors and actresses in this. So then we had, of course, we've already talked about Christopher Lloyd. You guys all know what he's done. I mean,
Christopher Lloyd.
from Star Trek to Back to the Future to Taxi to God, it just
Buckaroo Banzai.
Buckaroo Banzai. It just goes on and on and on and on. And he's a great actor. And what's great about Christopher Lloyd is he plays different characters. You know what I'm saying? Well, it's not like he's always playing the same guy.
He's an interesting dude. They talk when we were doing our Buckaroo Banzai research way back. I was listening to Buckaroo what's his name? Peter Buckaroo Banzai talking about Christopher Lloyd. He's like, yeah, he's an interesting. He grew up really rich and privileged, and then decided to be an actor, and then went off and did this and did all that. Has had a really weird, strange life. Like he's an interesting. And the people, if you watch some interviews for Clue, they were saying, yeah, Christopher just has his own energy. He brings his own kind of world with him.
It's kind of
he's just his own person.
Though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he plays Mr. Plum.
Yeah,
Professor Plum, rather, and who again, of course, is one of the characters. And he's actually, his backstory is in this one. He was a psychiatrist that lost his license because he had an affair with one of his patients, who shows up later as the singing telegram girl.
Yeah, you're singing.
So there, of course. So moving down the list, Michael McKean. Of course, we've already talked about him, but he's done so. He will always be.
Shirley,
he'll always be Lenny.
Lenny and Squiggy.
He'll always be Lenny of Lenny and Squiggy.
They'd mention him and they'd show up. Hello.
Hello. Which there's a great movie with those two. If you ever want to just as together,
I can't think of who the guy's name is.
I can't think of the actor's name. I had to look it up. But those two guys were in a movie with Kurt Russell called Used Cars, and it's one of these sleeper comedies. It's hysterical. It's like, and they're in that film together, not as Lenny and Squiggy, but similar characters.
Yeah, just together.
And I highly recommend, if you haven't seen it, go find it. It's called Used Cars. Yeah. Kurt Russell and those guys and a couple other people that are.
Michael McKean is one of those people who just pops up. Like he just pops up and shows up.
Yeah, his most recent thing I've seen him in was Better Call Saul.
Yeah,
he plays the brother.
I think he was in the X-Files. He showed up in X-Files.
He's another prolific actor that's been in a ton of stuff.
Voyager. But
he's always going to be Lenny.
Wind. Like he shows up. Yeah.
Yeah, he's always going to be Lenny.
Love him.
One Wolf. Remember his jacket? Instead of he was supposed to be Lone Wolf, but they forgot the L, so it was One Wolf. little Laverne and Shirley thing there going on. So then Martin Mull, who plays Colonel Mustard, who's again another at the time. Martin Mull's did so many things, and he was always funny.
And he was coming off of Mary Hartman, and Fernwood Tonight, which not as well known. I mean, critically acclaimed, but just not as well known. Not something that I ever watched. But he was, kind of a known quantity. Knew his comedy and he did singing comedy and other comedy in the 70s. So
he did Laughing.
He did Laughing.
He always had the kind of the one-off appearances in different shows.
Yeah, his quote, when I was reading his quote, he was like, I knew who all these other people, and I felt very much a novice, and I was hoping I could keep up. But no, he kept up just fine.
He was the boss in Mr. Mom, which was great.
Yeah, he shows up later. He shows up on Roseanne. He's just around. Yeah.
He had some really good stuff in Mr. Mom, which is another really funny movie. With Michael Keaton, and I think when it's funny, Michael Keaton's trying to look really tough, He's got like the chainsaw or something, or he comes in, he's working wearing overalls, like he's trying to be like he's like tough, try to scare him. But he's like this bruiser guy. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna rewire the whole room, and he goes, what are you gonna do? It would 220. He goes, yeah, 220, 225, whatever it takes. It's like I mean. So funny stuff. Yeah. So
I
he's
like
a
Martin. I
jerk.
like his delivery. They said backstage, Martin was one of those guys that he'd see you and he'd like, oh, okay. So and he just launched into a joke. Not good morning, not how are you. Just as soon as you walked in on set and Martin caught your eye, he'd launch into a joke right away, like telling you some story.
I mean, in his the comedy, even like when the iron thing falls out, and hits him in the head. It's just he just plays it so well. Yeah, he's another great actor. We keep saying repeating this, but
we're gonna repeat a lot. This was an ensemble
of such great guys.
This was an amazing ensemble,
right? Yeah. So his backstory was he was obviously a colonel in the army during the war, and he ended up being a war profiteer selling American black stuff on the black market,
radio parts,
but he's also part of a new fusion bomb.
Maybe, but I think that's also a red herring. So
yeah, right.
And of course, the motorist who shows up was his driver or something.
Was his driver the one that the motorist, right? The stranded motorist was his driver during the war, and that's how you recognize him. So, and then we have Leslie Ann Warren, who again at the time has done a ton of stuff, still doing stuff.
Leslie Ann, her
beautiful
story,
actress, always played a very sexy. She always plays that very sexy.
Yeah. Her story with this was that the part had gone to Carrie Fisher, and Carrie had to go to rehab. And the funny thing is Eileen is coming off rehab, and they're like, "Yes, give her a chance." And Carrie's going to rehab, and they're like, "Too risky." We can't. But it was a studio decision, not Jonathan Lynn's, not anyone.
I don't know if I could have seen Carrie Fisher in this role. I mean, it's hard to place her.
You see her in Blues Brothers, right? In the Blues Brothers, when she's in the sewer with the machine gun, or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, she's got the M16. Yeah.
Yeah, that. Take that energy and then put it in a corset.
Right. Well, the whole thing is, she played that well. She played that role well. I mean, clearly,
That's the way I see her playing that. So so poor Carrie's out, and I believe Leslie Ann was married to one of the producers at the time, so she was in. But Leslie Ann was coming off of Victor Victoria that she was nominated for an Academy Award for. So she's no slouch. It wasn't just like a last minute.
No, it wasn't like she was stuck in there just because she was sleeping with the producer or something like that. And she plays Miss Scarlet, who this is one of the thing in her backstory. She's a madam who, of course, Colonel Mustard has used her services among other people. So that's where
she was paying off the cop.
Right. Well, the cop, she was paying off the cop to look the other way.
And she was Yvette's boss.
Right. Yeah. In one of the endings, she was using Yvette was one of her girls, and she was using Yvette to get information. She was reselling to whoever information as men would I guess like to talk, pillow talk, stuff they're not supposed to talk about because is all in Washington.
That makes perfectly sense. I just want to go.
So then we get to Colleen Camp, who's another prolific actress who's just been around forever and keeps working and still working as producer
with a little French accent and a French maid's outfit.
Right. And I think I read an interesting fact about her is that she's played a police officer more than anybody. So I think that's kind of funny.
She's one of those. She's in everything. Go look at her IMDb. She's in everything. We're not kidding. She's literally been in everything.
And again, she's one of those actresses that you see and you're like, I recognize her.
She's around.
Well,
so she
you wouldn't even remember her name. She's kind of one of those people. But
no, and she's changed a lot over the years too. So, but they were looking at Madonna for that role. Mm-hmm. They were looking at Demi Moore for that role. Mm-hmm. They were looking at Jennifer Jason. No, what the hell's her name? One of the girls.
Jennifer Jason Leigh? No, that sounds like the wrong era.
Jason Leigh, Jennifer. Wait a minute, I wrote it down. Whoever. They were looking at a bunch of people, and for whatever reason, I don't know why. For whatever reason, it wasn't flying. It wasn't flying, and so finally, Colleen shows up in the maid's outfit. She went and got a little outfit, and she shows up, and the girl had a physique. Look, I don't know how to say this. The girl was stacked. She had a physique.
She had a good body.
You couldn't ignore it. And they were like, and there's Yvette. Like they could not have it. you know.
Yep.
So she wanted the role, she went after it, she got it.
Yep.
Good job, Colleen.
Of course, Yvette was not in the game. There was
No event in the game, but oh, what a
no in
nice
the game.
addition she
So,
was.
and then the other actor who's no character was Mr. Body, who was played by
Mr.
Lee
Body.
Ving. Lee Ving didn't have a huge acting career, but his claim to fame, of course, he was the lead guy in a punk rock band that was real popular in L.A.
Called
during
Fear.
that time. Yeah, called
They are
Fear.
still around.
Yeah.
They're still
So
around.
he was, like you said, he was forced on the production by the studio. I'm not sure why. I don't know if you've why they wanted
I
him,
don't
but
know why. I have
he played the
no
part
idea.
well. No issue with it. Um, he was kind of the bad guy. He's killed pretty early on. He's the first one that's killed.
Yeah, he didn't
Although
have much
technically
to
the
do.
second, because he didn't die the first time.
Yeah, no, he didn't die the
Like
first
the
time.
second one
He
killed.
didn't have to do much, and he kind of smirks his way through everything he does, but it sort of suits the character, so it worked.
Right. It fit. It wasn't. He wasn't really a key role. I mean, it was key to
Kind
the
of he was,
story,
but
but
kind of
it
wasn't.
wasn't like he had a lot to do like Tim Curry did.
Yeah.
Um, so trying to get to our that pretty much covers the main. Of course, we were going to talk about Kelly Nakahara, who was the
Oh, Kelly,
cook.
yeah. So
And
I
Kelly's biggest, the only thing I really remember her from was MASH. She played Nurse
Matt,
Kelly.
she was around. She was in a
Yeah,
couple things, but we all know her from Matt. And
MASH.
before we started the show, I was talking to Rizzo, and I was like, I was watching other people review this movie, and it was crystal clear. Not a single one of them had ever seen MASH. Nobody, and they're like, and the cook, no one knew who she was. And I'm like, it's Kelly Nakahara.
Yeah,
It's Kelly from
yep.
MASH.
From MASH of the same name. Well, she's not the same last
Kelly
name, but she was Kelly in
on
the
MASH.
Nurse Kelly. So Bill Henderson, we talked about the cop, so we already
Bill
kind of
was the
covered him.
cop, and we kind of
Um,
hit on Jane Weedland, I think.
And then the other one that's in there is Howard Hessman,
Oh
who
yeah, Howard Hessman
plays the
the
chief
Kingdom of
or
God.
or the evangelist, however you want to call him.
So and
Um,
Howard we all know from
WKRP Cincinnati, and we know it's almost Thanksgiving. It's getting close, so it's best.
God is my witness.
Best God is my witness. I thought turkeys could fly.
God is my witness.
Yeah, so one of the funniest moments on television. By far. So yeah, so that covers most of the cast. So as you can see, I mean, it was pretty, and they really just all work together well. I mean, like you said, the way they fire off the lines, I mean, they're just like everything is so quick. It's very quick. Especially when they get to that third act and Tim Curry. Now, we haven't really talked about the fact that they did the 3 different endings.
Yeah, okay, so let's talk about that.
When it was originally released, they had the 3 different endings, and you only saw one. They had A, B, and C, A, B, C endings. And originally what they would do is, depending on the theater, you'd go to the theater, and the theater would only get the one ending. And they would tell you, this is the A ending, or this is the B. So you go to another theater and see it again and see a different ending of who killed, who the murderer was.
Ideally, that's what they were hoping was going to happen, that people would go back and pay more money and see it again.
And watch it again. It was it's never been done, to my knowledge, again or before this.
It marked the end of what's called the theater gimmick, because prior to that, there had been theater gimmicks. And theater gimmicks included things as simple as, like, in the way days, they'd say, well, no one will be seated after, no one will be seated during the whatever part of this movie because it's so terrifying, and that kind people faint because it's so, those are early theater gimmicks. But then there came the vibrating seats, the blowing of air on people's faces, the skeletons dropping from the ceiling, that kind of stuff. And then came this theater gimmick, and then that was it. There have been no more. But
to my knowledge, nobody's ever done anything with different endings or different
I don't
films,
believe
so you
so.
can see it. No.
So there were 4 endings. But one they cut. The one was where Wadsworth kills them all at the end, but they cut it right out. They just dropped it. And what ended up happening was the audience exercised their own ending, which was not to go see it at all, because they didn't want to be going back.
Yeah, I mean, I only did see the one, but when I was telling you before, in my hometown we had a very large cinema show. It was Showcase Cinemas, and it was, at the time, it was pretty. It was like 7 theaters. Yeah. So they actually were running, because they had some pull, they actually were running the different versions at different times. So you could choose. And they gave you a little card that was actually part of the gimmick. You remember at the end when the credits are rolling, they have the characters. It'll look like a playing card, and it'd flip over, and you'd see you'd see the character and the name, and they gave out those cards with the word clue on it, and then it would say A, B, or C, which so that you knew as you could collect them or at least remember which one you saw. I only did see the one, so I didn't see any of the other endings until the home release, where they kind of edited it and put them all together, where they said, well, that's could have what happened. This is what might have happened, and of course the last one, this is what really happened. You know,
which frankly is that's what made the movie. Like seeing them all in a row, and then all of a sudden people were like, "Oh, this is so clever."
They almost should have released it that way, where
they should have.
During the film, if you go back and watch it after you know the different endings and you look, you can see they do give you a lot of clues.
You can go back and say, okay, this person's missing here, but now this person's missing here. Yeah, you can think of it. The other thing is the 3 endings. If you saw in the theater, Madeline only did her flames on the side.
Right, she only does it on the one
in one ending.
Right.
So if you didn't catch that ending, you didn't get to see her do that.
You didn't get to see her great. One of the best lines of the movie, flames. So it was really interesting take on the whole thing to do it that way. It obviously, as we said, it didn't work financially for them, but it seemed to work better in the home release.
I didn't see it until at home, and I saw all the endings, and it hooked. That's what hooked me.
I couldn't tell you. I want to say I saw the A ending, but I can't. I don't remember it. You're talking 35 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. And you've seen all the endings since. So
and I've seen all the endings since because I've seen this movie many times. I just watched it again the other day.
Here's what I've always wondered about: how come So the endings were Miss Scarlet did it, Mrs. Peacock did it. They all did it.
How come
just Scarlet and Peacock got ending? Like, couldn't we have rigged it so that each of the characters, like have 6 endings so that each character had a turn?
I suppose, but that would have cost more money.
I suppose.
And then they would have had written it that way so that there were clues to each one.
I guess
the first
really
2 acts. I think it would have gotten a little too complicated.
I always wondered about that. Like, why was it always pinned on those 2 girls and not like? Is it really flexible enough that it could have been anyone, or was it kind of rigid and it had to go those 2 ways?
You'd have to ask the writer that one.
Yeah, I would. That would be Jonathan Lynn.
Yeah. But the comedy of it was really good. I thought there's a lot of funny stuff in it, a lot of funny lines. Like we've talked about Madeline, but there's some other stuff in there that just, even just some of the sight gags and stuff, with the chandeliers falling and Michael McKean yelling. It's like, I'm tired of being scared,
Tired of being scared.
And he's like, the funniest thing was, I love the ending where the final ending where he's the actual agent and he's the only one that didn't kill anybody.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to go home and sleep because his backstory was his secret was he was a homosexual, of course, in 1950.
Which for 1954 would have been horrible.
Would have because he worked for the government.
Right.
He would have been fired.
He would have been like for real.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm going to go home and sleep with my wife.
Take him away. I'm going.
So, it was really quite funny.
I did realize, I just looked at my notes, there's one other tiny little road to Star Trek, and that is our own Leslie Hoffman, who we've met and who we've had up to Trek Ticonderoga. Leslie Hoffman, the stunt woman. Yeah. She worked on MASH.
Okay.
She worked on
Clue. We're talking about Clue.
Woo. I went a little sideways there for a second. Yeah, she did Clue.
So there you go.
There is rumor of remake. There are rumors abound that say Ryan Reynolds and Jason Bateman are attached to a remake of this thing. Those rumors have been swirling for like 4 years now. Really? Nothing is coming of it.
Yeah. Well, Martin's saying that the female is the deadlier than the male line is the reason why there's only 2 female murderers.
Yeah, you know what, Martin? You might be right.
You might be right. You might be onto something. Yeah.
Yeah, you might be right. And did you notice in the pairings, it was the sex bomb made with the
you knew that was going to happen when they do the matches. Yeah, and you knew Michael McKean was going to get matched up with Yvette. It was just inevitable.
And then Wadsworth said to Mrs. White, "No man in his right mind would be left alone with you." And of course they're paired up.
Yeah. No, I love the fact when Plum and Mrs. and
you and me,
Peacock,
honey bunch.
Just you and me, honey bunch. That was so Christopher Lloyd too. The way he said that.
Uptight senator's wife, and he's like a lecherous, because he kept looking like he's
looking at you. That's right. Yeah, the cleavage and everything. Yeah, it was funny. Yeah, he was.
And then what was the other pairing? What was their
Like, you can't
Iron
get
Man?
into that
Martin
position. Oh,
Mull
sure
and
you
Leslie.
can. Let me show you. And he
Yeah,
starts
let me show
grabbing
you.
it.
You can't get into that position. Oh, yes, you
Yes, you
can.
can. So yeah, it was. There's a lot of funny stuff. Oh,
Oh, God.
Sue likes your sweatshirt. You can buy
Oh,
that, Sue. Those are
if you'd
for
like one,
sale.
Sue,
You can
they are for
own one
sale,
for
and I will
yourself.
post the link. I can post the link literally right now.
Yeah.
For
You can
anyone
own
now. And just so you
Sci-Fi
guys know, we
Distilled
don't
swag.
set the prices.
Yeah.
The
I think
company
the shirts and
does.
the sweatshirts are fairly reasonable. It's some of the oddball stuff that's kind of
Some of
weird.
the oddball stuff, yeah.
But hey, if you're that much of a fan,
And
go
when
ahead.
people ask you, you say, "These are my friends."
You can get a
Thank you so
Sci-Fi
much.
Distilled mask. I mean, how cool would that be?
Show your
Show your
nerd
pride in our stupid little
pride.
show.
So this thing is picking up in wild popularity. So back in the early 80s, some eighth graders sent Jonathan Landis, I guess, or Jonathan Landis, a letter. We would like to do Clue as our school play. And at the time, he was like, yeah, just do it. Don't worry about it, guys. Don't. I mean, he didn't worry. He's like, no,
Yeah.
don't worry about royalties. Don't worry about paying Paramount. Just
Right.
do it. Well, then all of a sudden, all these people are like, we too would like to. And he was like, okay, talk to Paramount. You got to do this right. There's,
It does. It lends itself again. It does. It does. It's one of the things that would lend itself to a play.
It
quite
does. But
well.
what's happened is not only is it a play, but sometimes they do the midnight screaming the same way they do the Rocky Horror Picture Show, where the movie's playing, the people are acting it out in front, and the audience comes in costumes and throws in.
That would be
do
fun
the
to
lines.
watch.
Like that sounds like so much fun.
Yeah.
They do like screenings in the park, those like summertime, nighttime screenings in the park. Oh, we're doing Clue tonight. Everybody shows up in costume, and it's wildly fun. This thing is like some kind of weird second renaissance now. Yeah. Everyone wants to do Clue.
No, it is, I wouldn't say it's my favorite movie, but it's one of my cherished and comedies. And,
yeah, it's a favorite from our 80s, like our 80s.
Yeah, I mean, I was essentially an adult. I was 18 when it
I was still very much kid.
Yeah, so but I just like I said, I think I had that connection from when I was a kid with the board game, and so it was kind of just a natural thing. I know kids today, they don't really play board games, really aren't very popular in the sense that the Parker Brothers board games. I know people play
not the way
some oddball Dungeons.
I mean, I guess people play Magic and stuff like Magic.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people that play that
Catan
game, whatever it is.
Yeah,
Settlers of Catan.
But,
or whatever.
The Star Trek. Star Trek.
They have a Star Trek version of that, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, they do. Hang on, I will.
Oh, Mary Beth has it. There it is, Star Trek Catan.
It's what's propping my camera up tonight.
So I mean, but board games, everything went, when the early 80s, you started having the video games, and of course we had, and from there it just exploded. So why pull out a board game when you can play it on a video game?
Yeah, video game.
So,
but that's okay. So so that, I mean, that's Clue. I'm just looking at my notes to see if
No, what else? It's. Does anybody have anything?
They've been adding little tidbits. Like I saw Martin. I did see you write that each character came in a car the same color as their character. Yes, they did. Yeah, Professor Plum had a plum little thing, and Miss Scarlet had red, but hers had broken down, so she got in the car with Professor Plum. And then why is the car stopped? It's frightened.
Yeah, it's frightened.
He wouldn't drive up the hill.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. Of course, it takes place in New England, which I don't know why that's significant, but it did seem to fit.
It does. Yeah, New England. Martin says, "Did you notice the Chekhov's gun with the chandelier?" Yeah, Martin Mull looks at that chandelier, gives it a couple good looks, and then later on he gets two chandeliers.
Yeah,
dropped the one that gets shot down. 1 + 2 + 2 + 1.
Yeah,
and then
they're trying to figure out how many shots the gun had.
Two chandeliers drop. Behind Martin. And, the first one's like, I can't take any more scares. And then the second one's 1 + 2 + 2.
You're right. Yeah. It's pretty
But
good.
isn't it kind of a Chekhov stunt? Like, why did they do so much with the dogs at the very beginning of the movie and then nothing more with the dogs?
Well, there was the funny thing where he goes out and of course
Yeah,
he gets the dog and he steps in the
that's
poo, and I
it.
thought
Yeah.
that was one of the funniest gags that they were doing. Is
And they
every
never
time
really
every
told the
person that
bullshit,
walked
but
into the
everybody
house
was like,
thought they had
yeah,
stepped in it, and they're looking at
yeah.
their thing, and they don't realize it's
It's
Wadsworth, the
just
one
a
that smells.
quiet little thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's just little things like that's what I loved about the movie. There's these little just subtle things that were just
Little
so
thing, yeah.
funny that really weren't integral to the film at all. I mean, the fact that he stepped in the dog poo was just funny. I mean, it's
It was
always
just
funny.
there, yeah. It was just there.
So, and then yeah, the only other thing was the only other reference to the dog is when Mr. Body tries to break out because after Wadsworth says we're locked in, and he goes to all the doors and he goes into that solarium that's all glass, and he's
Oh
like,
yeah,
oh,
the
no,
glass.
that's what's.
Yeah.
He's like, you can't get out that way. Why? It's just glass, and he goes to the glass, and there's two Dobermans that are like, that's right at the window, so that you're not gonna get out that way because you're gonna get chewed.
Yeah.
So
Maybe
that's I think why the dogs were in the beginning so that you knew that they could be there later.
Interesting.
Although the dogs, interesting, were German shepherds in the
Yes, they
front,
were, and then
and they were Doberman pinchers outside.
I noticed
Maybe
that
they had
too.
different dogs. I don't
I
know. Maybe
noticed
they're
that. Like, those are German shepherds.
yeah,
But
German
you
shepherds.
mentioned the house being in New England. Leslie Ann Warren's character does say something about Route 41, which does run through like Connecticut and Massachusetts,
Yeah,
kind of over there. So it would be there. And New England does have a hill house. Don't know where that is, but there is a real hill house. And Deborah Hill, who's one of the producers, also I think did Haunting of Hill House or something about Hill House. So there's like a lot of hill. For some reason, hill is a word that kept coming up there. Don't know
Yeah.
why. Deborah Hill had done like the Halloweens, like she did all those movies and stuff.
yeah. No, the house definitely had that Halloweeny kind of
Yeah,
scary,
house was a big giant.
kind of
mansion.
like Rocky Horror. You know, you had that kind of
Yeah,
big
they
mansion.
both movies start Mansion in the Rain.
Yeah, Mansion in the Rain. Well, that's kind of a
And a
trope.
weird
You know what I'm
butler.
saying? That's a standard
Dark.
horror.
It was a dark.
You know,
and
it
stormy
was a dark
night.
and stormy night, right? Exactly.
So it
So
has to
that's
be
why I thought this would be a good Halloween one because even though it's not necessarily supernatural,
Yeah, that's
I
scary,
think it's
but-
murder mystery. I think it kind of like lends itself a little bit. to
Oh, it
Halloween.
absolutely lends itself. Yeah, but it's also like family friendly. There's no cussing. I don't.
No, there's just a lot of sexual innuendo, a little bit of
sexual
violence.
innuendo
They
and
do, you know, because
violence.
people are getting stabbed and
Yeah,
stuff.
people
So
are
it's
getting
not.
bonked on the head.
It's definitely a PG. It's definitely a PG rated movie, but it's not. It's not. Yeah, it's not. Of course, back then, you know, what we consider a PG movie today and a PG movie in 1985
It's changed a lot.
are very different.
Yes.
What we accept as
Absolutely.
parents or whatever, you know, what we'll think is okay for our kids to watch is a lot different. That goes for television too. The stuff that we see on TV is unbelievably
God, yeah.
graphic.
Of course, you know,
Violent.
Americans are notorious. Like, we're cool. Like, we're so cool with the graphic violence, but sex, no.
Forget
Can't
it.
have
Yeah, I know
that.
they freak out, right? I know it's we are very prudish in that sense.
That's
compared
so
to other
American.
countries.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's
somebody can get their head bashed in with a baseball bat, and that's okay.
That set went to Dynasty afterwards.
Oh, did it? It was very well. It was a beautiful set. I
was
really,
gorgeous
honestly,
set,
Rich,
yeah.
I thought it was an actual house because it was so detailed,
I
right
did
down to the
too.
push button switches, which were
Yes,
period
those
correct.
old fashioned push
The old,
button. I saw
the old
those too. Yeah.
light switches. Those were like
Yeah.
very period correct. You know, a lot of stuff like that. I just
There
thought
was a
they
dumb
did.
waiter.
Whoever
There were a
set
lot of
dressed
little
it.
the knobs on the
Yeah,
door. Like,
all of it was just
Yeah.
right, spot on.
yeah, super detailed that way. I love that kind of detail. Yeah.
So,
So I'm looking at my notes. I've got nothing else. I think I've told you everything. I know
well,
I
we
need to
almost
tell you.
almost filled an hour.
We almost filled an hour. So let's take a minute. No one answered, but I'm gonna tell you my answers. Dang it, because I believe in it. My Halloween best of. My personal favorite all-around #1 Halloween movie, Another Dark and Stormy Night in a Mansion with Tim Curry, of course, The Rocky Horror Picture Show. And you guys can jump in.
You want me to do this too?
Yeah,
I'll
if
do
you
it along
have
with you.
one, if
So
you
best-
have one, jump in.
So wait, I'm looking at your list. Movie was the favorite Halloween Star Trek episode? Is what you had first.
Oh, is that what I started with? Sorry.
Yeah, here I'll do it. So Star Trek episode, Cat's Paw. I mean, come on.
You say cats, but I say schisms. That's the alien abduction one.
Yeah, I know that one. That's a good one, but it's not Cat's Paw. Because it's more Catspaw is way. There's no other Star Trek episode that
Because
is
it has all the
Halloween.
tropes,
Like,
right?
well, no, exactly. I mean, they even talk about Halloween.
Yeah.
It's like this is like something out of Halloween.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah. So I mean, you can't beat it. Although
But
there
this
are
is-
other
yeah.
scary, dark Star Trek episodes, but if you're talking
Yes,
Halloween,
there's tons.
Catspaw.
Okay. Catspaw.
So the next one is best animated.
Great Pumpkin, Charlie
Um,
Brown. That's classic.
Yeah, that's given. Gotta
Nightmare
agree.
Before Christmas, maybe. I don't know. I'm going with Great Pumpkin.
Yeah, Great Pumpkin's better than my. But again, I grew up with that. I got a rock.
Me too. I watch that thing every damn year.
I got a rock. Halloween Family Fun. I don't know what you're looking for there.
Pumpkin, Hocus Pocus. Hocus Pocus is having a moment. Everyone loves Hocus Pocus right now. Don't know why. Maybe it's because of Doug
Oh, is that
Jones.
you mean for film or I mean Halloween Family? Oh, you mean just as an entertainment source?
Movie or TV show. Yeah. I'm gonna go Hocus Pocus. Everyone seems to love it.
Yeah. I don't. Have I
like
seen
that
that?
movie.
I don't know if I've ever seen that.
It's got Bette Midler and
Yeah, I'm familiar with the movie. I
Sarah
just don't think I've ever
Jessica Parker.
seen it.
Doug Jones plays Billy. What's his name?
There was a Grinch Halloween special.
Was it really?
Yeah, didn't live long.
The Grinch.
But it was very.
does Halloween.
The only thing I remember was they went back to Whoville, and they had an outhouse, but they didn't call it an outhouse. They called it the euphemism, which I thought was hysterical.
That's awesome.
So I'll go with
That's
that
a
one.
euphemism.
I'll go with that one just because of euphemism.
All right.
Best found footage.
Oh, you know what that kind of stuff that is? That's that like Blair Witch,
Oh,
Paranormal Activity.
which,
Whatever.
yeah, I don't even have one
Skip
for
it.
that.
I don't
Yeah.
have one for that either.
Best true story.
I love this crap. Oh my god! If it's based on a true story, I am so there. Amityville Horror, Mothman Prophecies, any UFO story. I love that crap.
Yeah, Amityville. I probably have to go if we're
Toy
talking
Story.
Halloween.
Yeah, yeah.
Get out. Oh.
Amityville was pretty scary at the time.
Based
I
on a
love
book.
Mothman. Okay, now that's one we talked about. Ichabod Crane, the Johnny Depp.
Yeah, I mean, to me, yeah, if you're talking film adaptations of books,
Yeah,
I gotta go. Yeah, probably we were gonna do that film too, which was Johnny Depp.
We can have a Johnny Depp month.
And we might do that. Was Sleepy Hollow,
Sleepy
which
Hollow.
is really
yeah,
excellent.
or-
It was a
yeah.
good adaptation of an old story.
One I like is called Nicole Kidman. It's called The Others. It's based on a short story called Turn of the Screw. That's a really good one. John and Sue. Sue part of John and Sue is saying The Simpsons. Yeah, The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror.
Yeah, you gotta like those. Are good. Those are good. Those aren't really family. I don't know what that's comedy for sure. I wouldn't
That's
call it
comedy for
family,
sure.
but
That's
Simpsons
can't
definitely
miss
an
TV
adult
right there.
cartoon. But
Yeah.
so best Stephen King. Well, I haven't. I only read one of his books, which was not a horror movie.
Really?
Was the one he wrote for his kid? That's the fairy tale. And I'm drawing a blank.
Oh, I can't think of the name. Yeah, for horror, I would have said The
Um,
Shining. That's pretty horrible.
For horror, The Shining is probably one of his scariest films, but not my favorite by far. I would have to go with either Christine or Maximum Overdrive,
Maximum Overdrive. Okay, that's good.
which is a
Two-part
kind
choices.
of
All right.
yeah. Those are kind of that's definitely sci-fi.
Yeah,
Maximum Overdrive.
yeah. I would go with
Um,
Shining for best Stephen King. Okay.
M. Night Shyamalan.
I'm limiting them.
Sixth Sense.
You think six? That's what Martin said last week. I say Signs. M. Night. That his
I didn't see
scariest
Signs,
thing,
so I can't.
was terrified. But
I
see-
can't
but
see
see,
Signs. I'm not a
Signs,
big on
again,
horror. See, I'm not a big on horror.
UFO and aliens, and I
Yeah.
love me some
Yeah.
UFO and aliens.
Yeah. But The Sixth Sense, because it was just so brilliantly done.
Yeah, it was
Um,
dumb.
That's why. This vampire movie. Wow.
Oh,
There's a lot of
Interview
good vampire
Vampire,
movies.
there's a
Bram
lot of them.
Stoker's one is pretty good. The one with Gary Oldman.
Gary
The only drawback to that is Keanu Reeves.
Yeah. If you want to do vampires and laugh at the same time, take a look at What We Do in the Shadows. That is so funny.
Not
You know
Dead
who
and
that
Loving
is?
It with Leslie
That's-
Nielsen.
That's oh, Dead and Loving It. That's right. That's a good one too. What we do in Shadows is Taiki Waititi. What is his
I haven't
name?
seen that.
Tai Waititi.
I
Taika
haven't.
Waititi.
I have not seen that one.
Oh, it's funny.
But best vampire overall. Wow, Interview with a Vampire is
Interview with
excellent.
Vampire. There's so many of them.
There's a lot of
Pick
good
one.
ones. There's a lot of bad ones out there. I
Just
mean,
pick one.
just straight fun.
Just
I like the
stay the
Blade
hell
series.
away from Twilight, and you'll be okay.
Yeah, no, I don't watch that crap. But even the Blade series with Leslie Snipes.
The Blade series. Now I'm looking. Now next week we are going to be doing Underworld. That's a vampire. I'm
Yeah,
really looking forward
Underworld's
to
a good
checking
movie.
that out.
Underworld is not a bad. It's a good film. It's solid. It's not a classic in it, but just a solid movie, and it's got Kate Beckinsale in tight leather. Come on,
Seems
doesn't
to
get
like
any better
that.
than that. Doesn't get any better than that. And Dan Davidson's coming back to do that one with us.
People seem to like that.
Yeah. So UFO aliens. Wow, there's so many of those.
There's a
that
lot.
are good.
I'm going back to
It goes
Sign.
all the way back to the original Earth, the day the Earth stood still. If you want sheer scariness, I think Day of the Triffids was really scary for its time. I mean, by today's standards, probably not so much, but I remember seeing it as a kid, like in the afternoon, they were running it, and I thought it was scary. Trying to think of what else. God, there's so many good ones
There's
for
so
UFO
many.
and Alien.
We could do
Alien
we could do
itself.
2 months of UFO
Hello.
and aliens. Yeah.
Alien, yeah, there's Alien itself if you want scary.
Yep.
Um,
So many.
and there were so many, this. I think what was the other Event Horizon because we had talked about doing Event Horizon this month is a good one. Another one, the book was Sphere. The movie was terrible, but the book was excellent. It's a Michael Crichton book.
You know what we could do is Contact.
Yeah, I didn't like Contact. I hated
You
Contact.
did with Jodie Foster. Oh, I thought that was
Terrible.
good.
I thought it was so boring.
You might like Cosmos.
And then
better,
at the
but
end, it's like her
weird.
father. It's like, come on.
Yeah,
Lame.
I thought it was okay. I liked it. They build the big spinning
I know,
thing.
I
And it
know,
dies.
I've seen
Oh,
it.
but the Japanese built another big spinning thing.
I thought it was
Anyway,
kind of lame, but
moving on.
People
Best
can
witches,
disagree with me.
eh,
Best witches.
whatever. There's all tons of witches.
I don't know. I can't think of a witch movie off the top of my head that I really.
Either can I. Witches of Eastwick, Practical Magic, The Craft. I mean, there's tons of witch movies. Hocus
Yeah.
Pocus. was
In TV though, I think Penny Dreadful was really good because
That was yeah.
that had vampires in it too and werewolves. So, best ghosts.
There's lots of
Ghostbusters.
ghost movies. Yeah, Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters. Come on now.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters.
Best zombies movie. Gotta go with Shaun.
Zombie movies.
Gotta go with Shaun of the Dead is my favorite.
Shaun of the Dead.
I like the
So
funny
many.
ones because I think it's a silly topic. So to try to make it serious, I mean, I've seen Dawn of the Dead. They're classics, no question about
Yeah.
it.
I didn't
But,
do Best Werewolf, but whatever. Yeah.
But I liked Shaun of the Dead, and I liked Zombieland. I thought Zombieland was pretty funny.
Yeah, Zombieland
So,
was a good choice.
Best funny Halloween movie. Yeah, there's a ton of those. Of course, Ghostbusters.
Farce or
One
Funny.
thing, there was a movie I really liked, and I don't think it did really well, but which was the Van Helsing, the film Van Helsing, not the
Oh,
TV
Van
show,
Helsing.
which had what's his name, Wolverine,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman, and it was really an interesting take on the vampire, werewolf, Frankenstein.
It's kind of like Cowboys
or-
and Aliens. Like, yeah.
It was definitely
Yeah.
a different take. There's the telemarketer du jour.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, they call every night.
Or
It's
the
like, I don't
political.
answer.
You get the political calls? Oh, I hate
Yeah, I don't
that.
answer
Anyway.
any of it. So
Anyway.
but anyway, yeah. So,
Yeah.
but
So
I really liked that movie. I thought it was pretty good. I know it didn't do really huge well in the theater, but I thought it was the effects were great. I think.
People like Van Helsing. I remember people liking Van Helsing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, so I think that yes.
I'm gonna throw out for Farce or Funny. I'm gonna throw out a scary movie. We're gonna do Young Frankenstein with Roy.
Right
I'm
next.
throwing
No, not
out-
next Friday. The 30th. The
I'm
30th.
gonna throw out I'm gonna throw out Cirque du Freak, the Vampire's Assistant with John C. Riley.
I don't know
That
if I've
was a
seen that
interesting little
one.
movie. And then for other choices, my other choices, I keep pumping this movie. I'm not gonna stop. I love it. Vast of Night. I love that movie. Or Something Wicked This Way Comes. That's one I haven't seen in a long
Yeah,
time.
but you haven't seen that one in a long time. Of course, you have ones like if you really like it, so you got the classics from like the 80s, like The Fog.
Good fall, yeah.
You
All
got
those.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Something
Friday
Wicked
the
This Way
13th,
Comes is
Halloween.
Jason Robards.
We didn't even talk about Halloween. You know,
No, we didn't
Michael
talk about
Myers with the Captain Kirk mask inside out.
Jonathan Price. That's
Yeah.
Something Wicked is it was a Disney. It's good. It's like kind
Well,
of
that's a who wrote that? Something Wicked. Wait, that's the stories. It's a famous writer there.
I'd have to Google. I don't know. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Somebody must know. Something Wicked. Because it's a poem. It's from. Is it Edgar Allan Poe?
I don't think so. I can Google it super quick. All right, the 1983 film is William Shakespeare's Macbeth by the pricking of my thumbs.
Something Wicked This Way Comes. Right. I knew it was based on a literature.
Yeah.
I don't know if the story actually follows anything.
No, the story is like it's like a kid's movie. It was scary for a little kid, but even now you kind of watch it. And you're like, oh.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever actually seen it.
Black Cauldron, Martin Benson. Yeah, I remember the Black Cauldron. I remember the animated Black Cauldron.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of stuff that came out that were for kids, that were supposed to be scary. And Ray Bradbury, thank you, Martin. That's so much
maybe it was Ray. Yeah.
Yeah. Ray Bradbury. So, well, that is 8 o'clock. So I think
it is 8 o'clock. So let me just say, you guys, I hope you are all watching Roy's Tie-Dye Sci-Fi, because he has been doing some great shows all month long, and he's keeping it rolling. On Friday, he's doing so like greenest people. They're like, and don't give away a spoiler. I'm like, the spoiler that we've been quoting to each other these 50 years, like we've all said it a million times. But we're all excited because his guest host, I think he's going to have Ross, but he's also going to have his wife, Sherry.
Oh, nice.
A lot of us haven't met yet, so we're all looking forward to meeting her through
We used to see her in the background, kind of.
Yeah, we see her walk by.
Just go by. It's like the Phantom in the background.
On Sunday, he's going to do the Devil Rides Out, which is what it's called here in the States, the Devil. The rest of the world calls it the Devil's Bride for some reason. But it's got Christopher Lee, and you know who else is in that? Charles Gray, who played the criminologist in the Rocky Horror.
Now was that a Hammer House of Horror one, or?
I don't know.
Because some of those are great. You should do those, Roy. Hammer House of Horror.
I have no idea.
Good stuff.
And then, what are we doing next week? I know what we're doing next week.
We just talked about it. We're doing Underworld with Dan Davidson.
Underworld, which is technically a make me watch.
And then we're going to do something kind of uncharacteristic on November 4th, which is
November 4th.
after Election Day. We're going to do The Mandalorian, because The Mandalorian Season 2 starts October 30th.
It drops October 30th.
And I look at Mandalorian as the show that saves Star Wars.
Yes.
Thank you.
The Mandalorian is awesome. So we're
going to do The Mandalorian.
Season 1 recap, and then we'll talk about the
we'll be able to, now, if we'll try not to give any spoilers away, because I'll try to watch the first episode.
Yeah.
But
and just for more, the last comment on Halloween fun. Yeah, no, we won't give any spoilers because we know a lot of people. But last comment on Halloween fun on Friday, October 30th, if you can, join us on Roy's Tie-Dye Sci-Fi. Rizzo and I will be over there talking with Roy and Ross about Young Frankenstein, another awesome Madeline Kahn movie.
Yes, one of my all-time favorites.
Overall,
not even genre-wise, it's one of my all-time favorite films.
Like, just top hat. I can't.
I mean, I quote that movie all the time.
Yeah, it's another one of these infinitely quotable movies. Yeah. So I'm excited for that. And then immediately following, we're going to have a little costume party. If you want to get in costume and join in on the hilarity, I was going to say chaos, but it's going to be hilarity. If you want to get in costume, Roy will show you have to click that you're going, and Roy will send you the Zoom link, and you can come in costume. If you don't want to get in costume and you just want to watch the chaos unfold, you're welcome to do that too. But I will be in costume. Tilly may be in costume. I don't know. We will all be in costume. I'm realizing now I have to wear the costume like all through Young.
You gotta wear the costume from here up, because you can't see.
Yeah, that's gonna be it.
You only have to wear it from the chest up.
You're gonna wear your costume.
I told you I'm going as a serial killer because they look like everyone else. Trivia question: what movie did I steal that from?
I have no idea.
I'm not that clever to come up. What?
Is it a Mike Myers movie?
It is not.
Is it? Oh, okay. I thought it was gonna be So I Married an Axe Murderer or something.
Nope. but I'll let you ponder that. See if anybody else. I want to see if anybody else remembers
no one's
that
typing.
line that somebody went to Halloween. And they were an axe murderer because they looked like everybody else, and they were dressed in the same
It's
clothes.
not
they
like
wore every day.
Scream or one of those, is
Nope.
it?
It's a. I'll give you a hint. It's a parody film, or shouldn't say it's. Yeah, it's based on a TV show. The film was based on a TV show, a popular TV show. The TV show was black and
Scooby-Doo.
white, so that'll show you how old it was.
Oh, is it Dark Shadows? No.
Nope. Nope.
Yeah. Is it Scooby Dooby Doo? Where are you?
I'll give you. This is probably give it away. I'll give you. Christina Ricci's the one that said the line.
Oh, Addams Family.
Yeah.
I give it away. Yeah. The Addams Family. Someone was praising Raul Julia's.
I was.
Was it you?
I loved him in that movie.
Yeah, it
I
was
loved
you.
the best line. The best line is when he goes, they say a man who defends himself as a fool for a client. As God is my witness, I am that fool.
I am a fool.
He played that so well. I just love that. Yeah, Addams Family. Actually, Addams Family was really good. Was a really good film.
Yeah,
Usually,
okay,
sometimes when they adapt
Yeah.
a film too. And we could have done that too for this. So we could always do it at some point. But it would have been a good Halloween one too. Of course, the
It
Addams
would have been a
Family.
good.
Classic.
That's okay.
Roy should do the Addams Family on his show, the original show.
Hopefully there'll be another
John Astin.
Halloween to do it. So yeah.
So, all right, guys, it's 8:06. We try to keep
Yeah.
stuff on time.
We
Thank
do.
you for joining us. We appreciate it, and of course,
Everybody come and wear a costume next Friday.
yeah, wear your costume, stay safe, keep your masks on if you're out in public, stay separated, and by all means, vote.
Yes.
So that's our only political message.
Vote.
Just vote. Good night, guys. Live long and prosper.